try to weave into your career something that you really love, and then the everyday just is so much more enjoyable. My first job after graduating at AET from the comms school was with Westfield New Zealand in their comms team, and sort of dived straight into a community consultation project for the Nuffield Street development in Newmarket. And it was an incredible experience. I think it was only the second time that there'd been a community consultation program in New Zealand, and we were having to consult the community because there's basically a huge amount of outrage about this 11-storey shopping centre that Westfield were wanting to build. So, massive learning curve, met lots of great people and worked with some fantastic people. And I guess what you see now in Nuffield Street is a result of that community consultation program. The pedestrian shopping precinct is basically what the community wanted as a result of that program. I think, like a lot of New Zealanders, we have a real wanderlust for travel and exploring other cultures. So I think that probably that's nothing new for anyone. But for me, the opportunity to work for the BBC was something that I'd always wanted to do. I'm a complete news and current affairs geek. So it was fantastic that I actually did end up getting to do that, and I absolutely loved that experience. There was also fantastic opportunity for me to live in Paris for a while and continue my French studies, so I did that as well. And as well as having time to spend with UK-based families, so it was really a lovely sort of blend of things, of all the important things in life, I guess. Yeah, it was fantastic. I think generally they are the same. I think in the UK, there's probably more of a focus on the planning and research process, probably because of the size and scale and complexity of the market. Um, so I think that that is probably the major difference, but generally it's the same. I mean, the creativity in the UK in particular is incredible. It's one of the most creative cities in the world, I think, and so what comes firing back out is often quite breathtaking. Um, One of the things I would say from a branded content perspective, working at the BBC, is that the editorial rigour on anything put out across a BBC platform is intense, and I haven't seen that here in New Zealand. Even just, well, not even just, but most importantly in the research mode, the setup of the whole content series is research to the nth degree, and it has to be editorially 100% robust. So it's an incredible experience to go through. And then once you've made it, it also has to go through a whole editorial committee, which is, right up to the highest levels of the organisation. So, yeah, that editorial rigour to make sure that the editorial position isn't compromised is something that is really admirable, I think. Yes, definitely. I see the creative as the manifestation of the strategy. So the creative is the strategy flowing through, and I love seeing that happening. I think the creative is so important, and it can be quite a demanding process, really, when you're wanting to just get that piece of creative absolutely right and just on point for the consumer so that it's completely focused on them. And you have to go back to the creative team again and again and asking them to just, have we got this right? Are we sure we're putting ourselves in the consumer's shoes? And in turn, they come back to me as well. And I think that polish just absolutely pays off in the end. And what you end up with as a product is just so much better. Yes, I think there is a real need for us to be across all of the different platforms that are available. And I think with anything, there has to be a real role and a purpose for using it. And as a senior marketer, you definitely need to know that and be across that and to be able to sell that new technology in if required. I think what can happen with technology is that the implementation can be so complicated, so detail driven, that it can at times start to influence what the creative looks like and therefore start to impact on the strategy. So you have to be really careful that it is 100% the right thing to do and the right thing to use, and that it adds to what you're doing rather than driving what you're doing. It's marketing 101 to build the measurement in right at the start. So I think you have to go back to your objective, make sure that your objective is completely measurable and that you have the means in which to measure your results from. You need to be able to obviously benchmark yourself right from the start. So you need to know where you are, whether that be current data or existing research or new research that you run, to actually give you a clear view of what it is you're trying to change or trying to influence. And I think it's also important, as well as those hard measures, to have soft measures as well that you can compare and benchmark as well and see the impact in. So I love Biowax, which is an interactive video tool, and it's just incredible. I've worked with Biowax a couple of times in New Zealand and partnered with them with different clients. So it's just been a really great experience working with the team. They're a New York-based team, and the thing about Biowax is that it's so customer focused and so consumer centric that it drives more and more engagement, more and more interaction, and then actually everything that the viewer does on the video is measurable and reportable, so you can see exactly what people are doing with your video, and actually you can see that in real time. There are three that I can think of off the top of my head, but my most favourite one would be one that I worked with the team at TVNZ on for Shortland Street, and it was called The Living Moment, and it was using Biowax, and we just had incredible success with that. In fact, we ended up winning 3 golds at the Promax BDA Awards, which are like the broadcast industry's equivalent of the Effies. So it was just incredible, and it drove engagement and interaction and pulled more viewers back to Shortland Street than would have been there without the campaign. Yeah, it was just a really great thing to work on, and it was the first time that we'd use Biowax in New Zealand as well. There's plenty of those, yeah, definitely. But I think once that you sort of sit down and try to understand what clients are really after, you know, it all sort of comes clear pretty quickly when you start asking those questions and working out what it is that they're trying to achieve. I think that that's a real value that you can provide to a client, because often it's difficult to know exactly what you want. You know, it's hard to see the trees for the wood or the wood for the trees, or, you know, it's just like, it can be a bit of a process from their end as well to understand exactly what it is they're trying to achieve. Yeah. I'd love to be able to work on a project that helped us as New Zealanders to address some of the major issues that we have. So I guess it would be something from a communication, education point of view. So just helping us to better understand the reasons for and the impacts of things like, you know, domestic violence and child abuse, and, you know, even things like climate change, like just demystifying that and simplifying that through education. And I also think there's also some incredible work to be done around educating people about our history in New Zealand. It's probably a bit of a cliche, but I would just say try to weave into your career something that you really love, and then the everyday, just is so much more enjoyable. Thanks for having me, and it's been interesting being on this side of the camera. I'm used to the sort of lens being facing the other way around, so thank you.